Hello students, welcome to part 1 of the chapter, Some Basic Concepts of Chemistry. In this part, we will deal with an introduction to chemistry. At the same time, we will look into a brief history. So through the history, we will introduce into this chapter. So the first question is, what is chemistry? From the lower classes, whenever we hear about chemistry, always what is coming to our mind is about chemical reactions. So basically you can say that chemistry is the study of chemical reactions. So what are chemical reactions? In a chemical reaction, reactants combine to form products. So you can say that on the left hand side you will see something, and when they react they will form products and you will see totally something new as a product. So reactants combine to form product, or you can say something was there, it will combine and you will get new things. Or in other words, you can say it's transformation of matter. Reactions involves transformation of matter, transformation of reactants into products. So transformation of reactants into products. So chemistry is study about this transformation. So when you study about such a transformation, you have to study what is actually happening during this transformation. So for that, we have to study about the composition of matter, structure of matter, properties, and the interaction of matter. So all these things will come under chemistry. So chemistry is the study of composition, structure, properties, and interaction of matter. And at what time? Under a chemical reaction. So all these studies need to understand about all these features. How did it all started? And according to the fossil evidences that we have now with the humans, we know that the humans started occupying Earth some 3 lakhs to 5 lakhs years ago. Our existence started during this period, from 3 lakhs to 5 lakhs years ago. And during those time itself, it is evident that we were using fire. So the most probably the very first reaction what humans might have used is fire, and they might have discovered this fire from the forest fire or wildfire that might be caused due to lightning in the forest. And there are evidence that they use this fire, the early humans used this fire for to generate heat and light, and for cooking, then for making pottery and bricks, melting of metals to make tools. All these things, the ancient humans were using fire for such things, and these all involves reactions. And what was the first man-made reaction, or what was the first type of chemical that was handled by the humans for a particular purpose, for a particular application? And again, the fossil evidence suggested that they handled chemicals some 1 lakh years ago or 100,000 years ago, and they discovered this in South Africa, where the evidences they got from Blombos cave. So you can see this from the picture. It is the cave that they have discovered some 100,000 years ago in South Africa. In these caves, they have found the evidence for workshops. In these workshops they were processing iron oxide, which can be used for coloring, for making paintings, as well as paintings on the walls of these caves, as well as for coloring the body. So evidences suggest that the first man-made handling of chemicals to participate or to give out reactions were somewhere around 100,000 years ago or 1 lakh years ago. And if you look into the paintings, you can clearly see that there are different types of colors. So you will see different colors here on the wall. So that definitely says that they know this, or they have the knowledge of these chemicals and how to handle them. And when it comes to metals, it was the gold that was the first natural or first metal that was discovered, that too in Spain in a cave some 40,000 years ago. So this was the first evidence that the humans were able to extract gold or metal. So and in later somewhere around 6500 BCE, means before the calendar or common era. So the current year is 2020, and if you look back 2000 plus 5000, some 7000 and 8000, between these years of 8000 and 7000 years ago, there are evidences that humans were able to extract lead, tin and copper. This they done this by just heating the rocks, or we call them ore. Ore is something or some type of minerals from which we are able to extract metals. So metal containing minerals are called ore, or ore are the substances from where we can extract metals. And from these metals, what were known during that time, they combined copper and tin to produce an alloy called bronze. So a combination of metals in different percentage compositions are called alloy, and one such alloy they used during those days was bronze, and hence that era got the name Bronze Age. So one of the picture that I got from fineartamerica.com, they have clearly have pictures showing that ancient humans, how they produced these type of, or how they synthesized extracted this type of metals. So they were just heating the rock ore, and the metals that have lower melting point will come out of the come out of this ore first. So they will separate them, then again they will heat, then another metal comes out, they will separate. So this is how they used to do that in the Bronze Age. So now next is the contribution of India, and our contribution from our part. It is in the history, it is written, some of the historians who visited India, they have written that we were able to produce iron from its ore during or some 4000 to 6000 years ago. So during 4000 to 2000 BCE, we have the knowledge of extracting iron from its ore. Not only us, Egypt, Greek, Romans and China. Since the iron was the chief metal during that time, this period or this era was called Iron Age. So this is one of the mines, again a photo that is available on the internet from Science Photo. You can see these mines where ancient humans is using the black soil, which is actually the ore of iron, in order to extract iron from it. So significant progress were made in metallurgy. Metallurgy means extraction of metal from its ore by the ancient India during this time, and this period or this era was known as Iron Age, where iron was the chief metal. Then comes the era of alchemy and latrochemistry. So this is the period where philosophers started to think about chemistry. Philosophers were the great thinking people, or the great people with great ideas. So these people were associated with kings and kingdoms. So alchemy and latrochemistry evolved as a branch of philosophy, and this started from Arab world or the Middle East, and along with that, all the other countries like India, Greek, all these countries have also contributed to this. And for these people who is working in alchemy, they are called as alchemists, and working with latrochemistry, they have a primary goal with them. And alchemists try to study materials, and the primary aim, when they study the materials, their primary aim was, so there were many aims, and one among them is transformation of every metal to gold. Like we said earlier in the first slide, the transformation is something that we study in chemistry. So these people, they were trying to transform every metals to gold. So kings and kingdoms, their richness is always measured in terms of the gold that they possess. More the gold, more rich you are. So these kings and kingdoms were forcing philosophers to find out something new, which is called as philosopher's stone, that can turn every metal into gold. And the next one was very interesting, that they were also forced to find out a magical drink that can bring immortality, because all these people who are king or people surrounding him are having leading a luxurious life, so they don't need such death. So always they want to be as youth, stay as youth. So they were also liking to, or they were also looking for a magical drink that can bring immortality, or we can call it as elixir of life. Immortality means it's permanent life situation, you will never die. And another thing, a magical medicine that can cure all diseases. So during those days it was not like this. Medicine wasn't that advanced. There were a lot of illness, and in many cases the illness will end up with death. So they were also looking for a medicine which can cure almost all medicines. So there was one Greek goddess who is believed to have first put this name Panacea. So these Panaceas is the name that is given or proposed for a medicine. If such a medicine is there, that is the name proposed to cure all the diseases. And the other thing, a universal solvent that can solubilize anything, which was potentially named as alkahest. So potentially means this, it wasn't there. They are thinking of such an universal solvent which can even dissolve gold, so that they can secure their gold whatever they're having. So these are the main aims. In addition to that, there were several aims, but these are more interesting aims of these people who is working with alchemy, or they are the philosophers working with alchemy and iatrochemistry. And the iatrochemistry was mainly focusing on medicine. So whatever the chemical they are finding out, they are always trying to look for its medicinal value. This was their primary objective. Whatever chemical they find, they innovate, they will first try to find out its medicinal value. So in India, the Indian alchemy is called Rasa Sastra, and its meaning, some foreign visitors or foreign historians that has come to our country has recorded it as the science of mercury, because in those days Indian alchemists were mainly concentrating on the study of mercury and its compounds. And so that is written here, historians from other countries described as rasayana, that extracted from plants. So these are the chemicals that are extracted from plant, and these plant extracts bring youthfulness and cure illness. This is what is reported by the historians. There are such things in India. They know how to extract this rasayana from plant, and that rasayana, if you have it, that will bring you the youthfulness and cure illness, which actually is part of Ayurvedic medicine. Now if you look into the ancient India, chemistry of ancient India is known as Rastantra, and if you look into it, our proud universities of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa provides the clues of our knowledge in chemistry, knowledge of chemistry in India. So during those time itself, we were using baked bricks and gypsum cement for constructions, and also metallurgy of metals, that is extraction of metals like copper, iron, etc. Metallurgy means extraction. So we had the knowledge of how to extract these metals from their ore. And also we had objects. We were using objects made of lead, copper, silver and gold, and we were using alloys also at the same time. And we were known to have glazed pottery, then glass dyes for coloring both glasses and pottery. All these knowledge were well known to India during that time itself. And if you're looking into a golden glows, if you see here in this ancient fossils that were obtained from these universities, there are certain glows for these polishes, and it is still not known how they created this polish, because during those times this technology wasn't known to the rest wasn't known it wasn't known for rest of the world. It is only known in this era of Mohenjo-daro and Harappa universities, and still it is a secret how they could create such a polish. Right now we have many polishes, and they are all part of new chemicals, but during those days these chemicals wasn't there, but still that polishes they used, still we don't know what is the secret of that. And in Rig Veda, there are accounts for the tanning of leather and cotton dyeing. Tanning of leather means we know that the leather we are using in our bags, in our purses, etc. These leathers are actually animal skins. Animal skin called we call it as hides, animal hides, and these animal hides are actually hardened animal hides. That's the leather. So in Rig Veda there are accounts for how to tan the leather and also to dye fabrics. So dyeing of clothes, how to produce color on the clothes. So all these things was there during ancient India. And if you look into the old books, which is considered as encyclopedia of Ayurvedic treatments, Susruta Samhita and Charaka Samhita, these two big books are considered as encyclopedia of Ayurvedic treatment, which was written some 2000 years ago. They used to explain, these books used to explain how to conduct Ayurvedic treatment. Even they used to explain how to conduct a procedure, means a surgical procedure in medical field. So such depth was the knowledge of ancient Indians during that time, some 2000 years ago. So later our land was invaded due to certain political reasons, and we had lost all these things that we had during those times. So Sruta Samhita and Charaka Samhita, which is considered as the holy book of Ayurveda, explained about how to prepare alkalis, bases, acids, metal oxides, sulfates and carbonates, then how to extract metals like lead, iron, etc. So these knowledges that we know now came from the Western world, but some 2000 years ago itself India knew these things, how to do all these things. And in Rasobanishata explains about the gunpowder, so which was actually some 2000 to 3000 years ago which was written. And gunpowder is quite famous nowadays in the Western world, and this came only in 17th or 18th century, and the idea originated from South Korea, then moved on to the Western world. So this idea, which was only originated in the Western world by 18th century, we knew it much before that, some 2000 years ago. And also scientist Nagarjuna extracted the noble metals like gold, silver, tin and copper, and also Chakrapani invented the famous pigment, that is cinnabar, mercury sulfide, and also he has put forward the idea of creating soap. This is much before the official inventions came from the Western world. Other Acharya Kanda, or we call him as his original name is Kashyap, so it's an Acharya later because of his findings. Is believed to be the one who has proposed the atomic theory for the first time. In our lower classes we have learned that John Dalton has proposed the atomic theory, but 2000 years before John Dalton, he lived in 19th century. Much before that, that is some 2500 years ago, Acharya Kanda Kashyap has actually explained the same theory, but using different terms. All substances are composed of atoms. This is what Acharya Kanda, like what similar to John Dalton theory. All substances are composed of atoms, and Kanda called it as paramanu. And like John Dalton, he said that they are indestructible and they are in motion in the original state. So um, all these properties were given to this paramanu by Kanda. And like Dalton said, he said that different substances have different atoms and they interact to form molecules. So this is what Dalton told later, but much before that Kanda has already explained. And there are still a lot of controversy about Dalton's work of atomic theory because he never provided any evidences for his theory or his atomic theory. So it is now clear that our ancient Indians were very good in science and had deep knowledge about the things, which was much better than the rest of the world. Then came the arrival of the modern chemistry. So in ancient chemistry itself, if you look into the very modern chemistry, we have this nano particle sized objects, especially in medicine. In Ayurveda, there was already in Charasamhita is already mentioned about basmas, which is referred to as nanoparticle sized medicine, and how to synthesize it or how to produce such nanoparticle medicines. So such later we have found that the basmas what is referred in Chara Samhita is actually nanoparticle sized metal particles. So Chara Samhita is clearly mentioning about the beneficial side of this basmas because of its extremely small size, but it never named a nanoparticle material, but it was actually referring to such materials and its effectiveness. And in modern medicine, it is now very well known that such nanoparticle sized materials have very good effect on the illness. And by the introduction of modern chemistry, alchemy, latrochemistry and Ayurveda all declined gradually with the introduction of Western medicinal system. So this declining was seen for the last 150 years, where the Western medicine clearly dominated. And there were a lot of different reasons for that. One is their effectiveness. So it has a quick, effective curing value for this Western medicine. And what also helped them is a systematic approach of chemical invention. So when they invent a medicine, they clearly document that and share that knowledge. So this will help others to study on that and make more innovations and applications. So scientific study made Western medicine very effective and its use widespread. These were lacked by Ayurvedic and other medicinal like homeopathy. This type of sharing and scientific study were lacked by this. So but for the time being, we are also advancing in this and hope that Ayurveda will find its way into top. Now if you look into the chemistry, so as we said, it's about composition, structure, properties and interaction of matter. So if you are dealing everything, you can say that it will be very difficult to study. So the purpose of studying in a better way, we have classified them into three important parts: physical chemistry, inorganic chemistry and organic chemistry. These are the three important sections, and you will see that there are enormous number of branches under these main sections. So for the time being, for us, if you are studying in +1 and +2, you will see your chemistry is divided into three, that is physical, inorganic and organic. So when it comes to inorganic, you will study about atoms, elements and compounds, their physical properties, chemical properties, use and application. So these are the things that is taking part in the chemical reaction, either atoms, elements or compounds. So you will study about their physical properties, then chemical properties means their chemical reactions, their use and how they are applied in the field of chemistry. These all things come under inorganic chemistry. But if you go into the aspects like structure and composition, it will come under physical properties. So physical chemistry, so it's about the structure, it's about the feasibility of chemical reaction, extent of a chemical reaction, rate of a chemical reaction, and different types of reaction and its application. So a lot of things will be covered under physical chemistry. And a branch that is having not much connection with this is organic chemistry. This is exclusively a branch to study about hydrocarbons and their derivatives. So hydrocarbons means the compounds having both carbon and hydrogen, and also their derivatives, those compounds that is derived from hydrocarbons. And it deals with their physical properties, chemical properties, use and applications. So in general, we can say that chemistry is broadly classified into three: physical, inorganic, and organic. So with all the innovations and studies we have then the importance of chemistry, because with all these we have contributed to almost all the field. Chemistry has contributed to almost all the field, whether it is industrial, whether it is medicine, whether it is food or environment and biochemical, we have contribution to. And if you say in a way that all these systems that you see here heavily depends on chemistry. So if you look into industries, so chemicals, solid materials, polymers, all the latest technologies, all the latest innovations is based on the chemistry. And the other way around, chemistry is also depending on latest technology to apply into these fields. And then medicine, we know all are chemicals. So we have natural and synthetic drugs, all used as, or all having medicinal value one way or the other. Then if you look into the food, agriculture mainly depends on chemicals in order to meet their demand. So they have to increase the yield, so for that they need chemicals. Whether it is natural or artificial, all comes under the branch of chemistry. And if you look into the environment, main threat is the pollution, which on one side is caused by chemistry, and the chemistry itself is trying to reduce that pollution. And also the enzymes like insulin, which nowadays is a major threat to many diabetic patients, is produced in large scale. So this comes under biochemistry, in large scale synthetically, so that it can be administered to the humans. So this is all about the introduction to chemistry, and with this introduction, it is for sure that chemistry is contributing very much to the economy of our country. To any country, chemistry is so important because its economy heavily relies on this branch of science.